Food truck business permits and licenses. So in this video of Food Truck Freaks, we're going to dive into the 5 specific licenses and permits you'll need to start a food truck business no matter what state, county, or city that you live in, and you want to start a business with a food truck. These 5 are the most important. We're going to get to those right now. All right, so welcome back to Food Truck Freaks. It is Damian Roberti, founder and CEO of Food Truck Freaks and Marketing Food Online. We have tons of food entrepreneur channels here on YouTube. You definitely want to check out those links down below in the description if you are interested in opening all kinds of food businesses or know somebody who needs help opening a food business from home or even selling online. So let's dive right into these 5 specific permits and licenses that every food truck will need. Basically, no matter what city or county you're going to be opening a food truck business in, you're going to definitely need these 5. And now, in addition to these, there may be more specific additional permits or licenses in the city or county that you're going to be operating in. But we definitely narrowed it down to the 5 most important. So let's dive into that. So number 1, you're going to need a business permit. So this is basically the fundamental prerequisite, if you will, for any business to open for business and operate making a profit, often known as a vendor's license. The government will start to recognize you as a legal business and begin to keep track of your operations for tax purposes once you've actually obtained your business license. So that is necessary by your city and the specific state that you're in. Now, the price for business licenses will vary dependent upon the type of state and the city and county as well. Some of the business licenses can be anywhere from $50, possibly even up to over $200, depending upon your state, of course, the city and county, and all of that. Now, a couple of super important things. First off, number 1 with the business permit, you need to make sure you observe the date that your license expires. Be aware of the time that it actually expires, guys, because normally these are done annually. And if you let it expire, but you were operating your business and you get caught, you can actually get fined for not having an active business license. Next up, you want to learn everything you can about the license renewal procedure. So the process to make sure that you get it also varies by state as well. So you want to ensure that your business license, whatever steps need to be taken, because sometimes it's not the same across the board. You want to make sure you know everything about the renewal process. Next up, find out if the quantity of the licenses given out by your city for your food truck is capped. Now, this is super important in places like New York. Believe it or not, they actually will only limit a certain amount of business licenses for food truck vendors or even street food vendors. So you want to make sure that you know how many are going to be given out so you can renew it and keep yours. Because I've actually heard stories of food truck businesses that actually have it lagged and they don't renew it, but their city has a designated quantity and they can't renew it because of that quantity that's limited or capped. Okay, so next up, to find out more about your company license and such, go to the U.S. Small Business Administration website. That is a great resource, guys, to find out more information about business licenses for the food truck itself. Now, number 2, you are going to need to get a EIN. So that is a employer identification number. So you want to consider the EIN as a company's social security number. Depending on your state, you will be given it when you apply for your business license. So that's actually something that you get initially when you apply for your business license. In some states, it makes it super easy. You must have this document in order to open a business account, basically with a bank, beginning establishing your company's credit profile, and of course start employing personnel. So it also serves as a formal proof of your business registration with the IRS. The cool thing about it, though, the IRS actually offers this EIN application for free. You can do that on the website. There is no fee for that. So that's actually a good thing. That's one less thing you got to pay for. Now, also keep in mind, this is crucially important. If you have a launch date or a date that you want to start your food truck business, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for the process to be completed with the EIN application. So you make sure you apply well in advance of your anticipated start date. Okay. Number 3, make sure you have a valid driver's license. Food truck is ultimately simply, but it's a truck. So hence operating one requires a valid driver's license. Now, the majority of the states only require a regular driver's license to operate a food truck, but there are some states where you need to apply for a commercial truck license, which is totally different than an actual driver's license for a vehicle. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you want to double check with your DMV office or even go to their website. Make sure that you understand the process for getting that as well, and any type of renewal timeframes for your valid driver's license or commercial truck license. Keep that in mind that some of these states will require you to have a totally separate type of license that has nothing to do with your own license. And if you've got employees or you have someone driving, make sure that they have the valid license as well. All right, so number 4. The next up is number 4. It's going to be the health department permit. So if your food truck has passed the health inspection, the health department's issuance of that permit will confirm your inspection and the passing of it. Now, keep in mind, just getting the inspection itself does not mean that you're necessarily going to pass. So you want to make sure ahead of time that you double check with the health department. Normally, they'll have a list of what they're going to expect on the initial first inspection, which allows you to get signed off so you can start your food truck and run it. So make sure that you follow it to a T. I can guarantee you from my own experience with the health department inspections, even with our bakery that we had, our retail bakery, my wife and I, we had to be looked at from top to bottom and everything in between. It was very, very critical that we passed that first inspection because that allowed us to open our business. So make sure that you follow it to a T. So this permit involves a more thorough application process than others since the health department representative must physically inspect your food truck to determine whether it violates any of the health regulations set up. So here's what I'm going to do though. I'm going to give you a little rundown. In a normal health inspection of a food truck, the inspector will look to identify the size of the hand washing facility. So you want to make sure your hand washing sinks are adequate. Verify that food is coming from a reputable source. Make sure that you also, in some cases, health departments will request a list or want to know where you are actually getting your food from as well. Make sure all food is kept safe and, of course, at suitable temperatures because they will check that as well. They have, of course, their thermometers and a handful of other gadgets that will check whether a product needs to be frozen, refrigerated, or even kept warm. Are they being kept warm at certain temperatures as well? Check to make sure that there is no chance also of cross-contamination. Anytime you're doing any food prep on the food truck, the majority of the states, believe it or not, will actually recommend or require that you actually have food prepped before you actually go to your event with your food truck. So basically what you'll be doing on the food truck itself is more or less assembling the ingredients, but you won't be prepping or cooking or preparing it there. That's not the case everywhere, but trust me, in the majority of the food trucks that are attached to commissaries or commercial kitchens, they're going to request and require that you have it done beforehand. Ensure that every food is properly labeled and stored. Your meat thermometers are calibrated too. That's something that a lot of people don't think about. We don't necessarily have meat thermometers when we had our bakery, but we did have some cold cuts and we had sandwiches, and all of them had to be checked too. So we had to make sure that those thermometers are calibrated properly. Examine the cleanliness of all the surfaces, including the walls and floors. So these are things that the initial inspection will look at, and they're going to look at it with a fine-tooth comb, trust me. And they're going to make sure all of those things are in level. So the inspector may also ask you, or maybe even your employees, to make sure everyone is aware of the best practices for food safety. So keep in mind that you and your staff should take the time to refresh your knowledge of all the most recent food safety procedures in order to pass the inspection. You want to make sure that when the inspection agent comes through and they double check these areas, they may even ask for your food handler's card or food handler safety course, whether you have taken that or not. So keep that in mind as well. Now, the other questions that they may look for during the inspection are, how are these foods prepared, chilled, reheated, and stored? They may literally ask you what the process is for that, okay? So you want to make sure that you can answer that to a T. So if you're preparing a certain protein that has to be warmed up and kept at a certain temperature, then cooled and then stored properly, they want to ask you that. How are food temperatures recorded, okay? In some cases, like back when we had our Italian bakery, for instance, we had to keep a log of the temperatures that were recorded the time that we tested it. This is a normal practice, actually, by the way, even for food restaurants, for food trucks, for cafes, anywhere. What about your thermometer storage? How are you keeping those and cleaning them? Each thermometer has to be cleaned and wiped and sterilized, by the way, after each procedure. They may also ask, what is the procedure for labeling and keeping your foods? Also, what's the procedure for cleaning and washing the foods? So these are things normally done also at a commissary or commercial kitchen, but they're going to ask you what the process is to ensure that you know what you are talking about. Are there any potential harmful foods, such as eggs or seafood, in the trucks? If so, how are they properly, securely kept, and what temperatures? So these are some of the things they're going to look for, as well as how do you feel about wearing gloves and washing your hands? They're going to ask you how, when you're preparing the food itself, are you using the proper types of gloves as well for food preparation? Does the supervisors have any safety certifications? How is the safety training provided to employees? These are questions that they're going to potentially be asking you, ensuring that you, if you are in need of a food handler's license, for instance, which we're going to get into in a second, that you have taken those courses, that you've passed them, and any potential employees or any additional people on the truck have to either have those as well, or a manager or supervisor on the food truck has to have those. Okay? All right, so if your truck passes the inspection, you'll be given a letter grade that must be visible to customers in most places. So most cities and counties have kind of adopted the uniform grade process, which is a piece of paper that will go through the inspections and give an overall grade, A, B, C, etc. So they want to make sure that they do it, also have it available for customers to see it. It has to be visible. Most of the time, you'll see these like at restaurants. Once a health inspection is done in a restaurant, if you'll notice on the walls, they'll have these posted so the customer or consumer can see that, and they know at what level that restaurant has been graded. All right, so number 5, lastly, food handler's license. Now, you can obtain a food handler's permit, also known as a food handler's license, by successfully completing a food handler training or safety course. Now, this is, again, pretty uniform across the food service industry. If it's a restaurant, cafe, bakery, food truck, or mobile food business, it's all the same. Some places it may not be required, which is highly unlikely, but if it's not, that's one thing that you don't have to do. But I have seen predominantly across the board that food trucks need to have a certification course done. All right, so those are the 5 specific things that you would need to have in order for you to get up and running pretty much no matter what state, city, or county that you're in the U.S. So if you're looking to start a food truck business, keep in mind these permits and licenses. Now, the cost of these normally anywhere from about, like I said, on the low end, about $75, maybe $80, up to about $150, maybe $200 each. But they're also something you need to renew every year. So as we covered as well in this video, make sure that you know those expiration dates. So if you have any questions about starting your food truck business and wanting to know more about licenses and permits, let us know down below. Hit the subscribe button. If you know friends or family members who can benefit from Food Truck Freaks channel here on YouTube, definitely let them know. Send them a link, send them a video, and I'll see you guys on our next video. Now, if you need more additional help, check out these videos right here on food truck businesses and food truck entrepreneurship.